Hello everyone, welcome back to the part 2 of the chapter Gentlemen of Medio. Yes, we were reading about it in the last part, the part 1. So let's discuss about what happened in part 1 first. We met the 4 characters of the chapter. The first character was the lawyer, the storyteller, the writer, Juan A. Cidello. Then was Don Amsello. He was the old man whose land they were about to sell. There were American people who were buying Don's land, and there was a black boy who always followed Don Amsello. So they had happily bought the land in $1,200. That was, the land was 8 acres big. But they found out, the lawyer had sent his surveyor, and they found out that the land was actually bigger than 8 acres. It was double, and they were ready to pay the money for that. But he said, no, I will not take more money. I'm happy with $1,200. This is what I agreed for. And he takes the money and goes. But after some time, when the good people, American people, come to the land, they see that a lot of kids were coming inside to play with the trees, right? So what happens? Let's see now. A month later, my friends had moved into Rio and Medio. So they had moved. Who had moved? The American people who bought the land. They had replastered the old house. That means they had renovated, made it more beautiful. Pruned the trees. That means to cut off the branches of a tree to make it grow better. You always prune the trees for it to make grow better. Like how you cut your hair, trim your hair, that it grows better. Same like that. Patched the fence and moved in summer. They had patched the fence, that means made new fence, made it look more pretty. One day they came back to the office to complain. Now why did they come to complain? The children of the village were overrunning their property. They came every day and played under the trees, built like little play fences around them and took blossoms. Blossoms means flowers on the tree. They used to come, make fences, take off all the flowers and go away. When they were spoken to, they only laughed and talked back good-naturedly in Spanish. When they told them something, they would talk back, but it sounded like a very nice, well-mannered, good-spoken Spanish. It didn't sound rude. I sent a messenger up to the mountains for Don Amsello. Actually, this entire area where he was staying, Rio and Medio in New Mexico, is surrounded by mountains. There are so many mountains everywhere. You know, this little village that he is talking about. It took a week to arrange another meeting. When he arrived, he repeated his previous preliminary performance. That means done or said first to prepare for something. Like how earlier he was, wore his gloves, hat, same exactly then he did again. He wore the same faded cutaway, carried the same stick and was accompanied by the boy again. The same thing followed. He shook hands all around, sat down with the boy behind his chair and talked about the weather. Finally, I broached the subject. Now again, they shook hands, they sat down, they spoke about general topics like weather, and then he took out the topic. Broached the topic, that means raised the topic, started the discussion. Don and Selmo, about the ranch you sold to these people. Ranch is a large farm that you sold to these people. They are good people and want to be your good neighbors always. He again said that they are good people. They want to be your good neighbors always. When you sold to them, you signed a document, a deed, and in that deed you agreed to lot of things. One thing was that they were to have the complete possession of the property. One thing that you agreed was that they will have the entire land to themselves. Possession means belongs to them. Now, Don and Selmo, it seems that every day the children of the village overrun the orchard and spend most of their time there. Now it looks like all the children of the village are coming inside and spending their time there. Now a lawyer has to come in when there is something happening with the property he sold. We would like to know if you, as the most respected man in the village, could not stop them from doing so in order that these people might enjoy their new home more in peace. So because you are the oldest person living here, please can you tell these children to not do that so that these good American people can live peacefully there. Okay? Don and Selmo stood up. We have all learned to love these Americans. He said, yes, I love these Americans. because they are good people and good neighbors. I sold them my property because I knew they were good people, but I did not sell them the trees in the orchard. He said, yes, I know they are good people, and I sold my land to them because I know they are good people, but I sold these people my land. I didn't sell them my trees. This was bad, Don Anselmo. I pleaded, when one signs a deed and sells the real property, one sells also everything that grows on the land. And those trees, every one of them are on the land and inside the boundaries of what you sold. So, imagine if you are living somewhere and there is a well and a tree on that land and we sell that. So, the well and the tree also belong to the seller, right? Who's bought it, he gets that also. Now, here he says, no, I didn't sell the trees, I only sold the land. Trees are not mine. How is that possible? Yes, I admit that, he said. You know, he added, I am the oldest man in the village. Almost everyone there is my relative and all the children of Rio and Medio are my sobrins and nietos. What are sobrins and nietos? Spanish for nieces and nephews and grandchildren. Okay, this means all the children of the village were his brother's children or sister's children or brother's children's children, grandchildren. So, all the children were related to him because he was so old. My descendants, that means a group of people related to the family that existed long ago. So, his fathers, all descendants, you know, grown to them, born to them. Okay? Every time a child has been born in Rio and Medio, since I took possession of the house from my mother, I have planted a tree for that child. So, he says, when I took the possession of that land, okay, when I got that land on my name from my mama, I planted one tree when every child was born and named that tree after that child. Okay. The trees in that orchard are not mine. Senor, senor is a word of respect like Mr. Like how you say Don, sir, you say senor, Mr. They belong to the children of the village, not me. Every person in Rio and Medio born since the railroad came to Santa Fe owns a tree in that orchard. So, these trees are not mine. These are the trees of the children. I did not sell the trees because I could not. They are not mine. So, the trees are not mine. Now, if the children want to come and play with those trees, they are their trees. They can come and play. I can't stop them. There was nothing we could do. Legally, we owned the trees, but the old man had been so generous, refusing what amounted to a fortune for him. Now, you remember earlier he did not take the money. He had already refused a generous means large amount of money before. So, we couldn't argue with him, okay. It took most of the following winter to buy the trees individually from the descendants of Don Anselmo in the valley of Rio and Medio. So, basically they had to go to every child and give them the money for one tree. So, the whole orchard was for every tree they had to give money to the children. Children of what? Rio and Medio. And they were who? They were the descendants of Don Anselmo. They were their children, grandchildren. So, this is how they spent their winter, by selling all the trees of Rio, of the orchard that they bought from Don Anselmo. So, you understood what all happened here? How clever he was? Yes. In the meeting of the old man and the Americans, they talked about rain and the old man's large family. Why? Is it because to mock his large family or to break the ice? It's a custom of the Americans, or to make themselves comfortable, or to prepare everyone for the main talk, or to make everyone know that it had not rained in that area, or you may think of more, okay. So, the answer is firstly to break the ice. Yes, what is break the ice? For some time you talk something else to make the person comfortable in the room, and then you talk the main topic, to make themselves comfortable and to prepare everyone for the main talk, okay. Question 2. Why do you think the storyteller spoke Spanish? Why would he speak Spanish? The storyteller spoke Spanish as the old man with whom he had to discuss the deal was a Spaniard. What is a Spaniard? A person who lives and has been born and brought up in Spain. The storyteller offered the old man almost the double of what he had quoted earlier. Why? According to the land surveyor or the engineer, the land was doubled, so as the storyteller offered the old man almost the double amount because it is fair and just as usual. That's how it's supposed to be done. The area of the land is calculated according to the acre, correct? The value of the land is calculated according to the acre and the concurring rate. Question 4. What was the reaction of the old man to the storyteller's offer? The old man thought for a while and he felt insulted and refused the offer. He was the man of principles, so according to him it was not fair to accept more money than what he had agreed for. We respect elders in many ways, right? All of you respect elders. In what ways? You may remember. We shake hands, we touch their feet, and we have to think of more. Can you think of more? These are mine, you can put your in too. We pay them courtesy visits, we try to help them in their daily chores, we offer them seats in vehicles, we have more patience while interacting with them, or we stop our car or a bike when they cross the road, we let them move in the line first. Yeah? The storyteller respected the old man by what? By letting him have his say, by letting him what he wanted to do. Question 7. After the findings of the engineer, the offer was doubled for the old man's land. Did the old man raise the rate? No, the old man wouldn't raise the rate. Did the storyteller offer more? Yes, the storyteller offered more price. Now we have to match the following. Match what? Where is the seller from? Where are the Americans from? And where is the young dark boy from? I have done it for you. The seller is from, who is the seller? Don and Selmo. Some Americans are who? They are the buyers of the land. Who is the young dark boy? He is the follower of the old man. Okay. Now question number 9. Don and Selmo took only $1,200 for the land. Finally, because these questions are on page 49, please do them with me so you will remember them. Okay. The storyteller failed to convince Don and Selmo to make more money than what had been agreed upon. Is it because of that? Or Don and Selmo was a man of principles? Which one do you think? Yes, I think both. Both the answers are correct. In fact, the two answers can be combined to give the right answer. The storyteller failed to convince Don and Selmo to make more money than what had been agreed upon, as Don and Selmo was a man of principles. Question 10. What did Don and Selmo do as he left the place with the money? As he left the place with the money, Don and Selmo shook hands with all, put on his rag gloves, took his stick and walked out with the boy behind him. So basically his clothes, gloves, coat, gloves and his stick were main and the boy behind him. So this is the characteristic of the old man. Remember it, it will come in your exam. Alright. Now here fill in the blanks with suitable words. The land, the house sold by the old man. So before it was sold off, it had a peeled off plaster and a torn fence. After it was sold, the trees were pruned. What else was done? So before it was sold, it had peeled off plaster, it had gnarled orchard, wild trees and torn fence. But after it was sold, what was done to it? It was replastered, pruned trees and patched fence. So you see, torn, patched, gnarled, pruned, peeled off, replastered. Opposites. Okay. From the list given below, tick the activities with which the children of after the Rio and Medio were involved. Americans occupied the house and the land sold by Don and Selmo. So how are the children involved in these? Let's pick up. So only these points have children involved in it. Okay, you have to read every point carefully and think, were the children involved in it? So children were involved in the point 3, playing in the orchard, plucking flowers from the tree, putting fences around their play area and laughing whenever they were spoken to. So these are the only 4 points where children are involved. Okay children? Now again, the possibilities for a week-long delay for another meeting are given. Which of them do you agree with? Discuss. So why was it happening? Why was late meeting happening? Because the old man deliberately delayed. He was slow, was not in station, or was ill. What are the possibilities? What can be the possibility? It's possible that the old man was slow in responding because we see that he is generally slow at everything. It's also possible that he was ill because after all he was an old man. It's not possible that he deliberately delayed because we see him as a straightforward man. What he says he does. It's not possible that he was out of station because the details given in the lesson do not support the idea of these people traveling a lot. So he was not out of station. He may be ill and mainly he would have got deliberately delayed. Question 4. Don Anselmo repeated certain things whenever he met the storyteller and took leave of him. Write them down. One is done for you. What are the things that he did every time? He bows out to all. He removes his hat and gloves slowly and carefully. He hands his things to the boy who stands obediently behind his chair, and while leaving, he repeats the action of shaking hands with everyone. These are the things that he does every time he comes to the lawyer's office. Now question 5. Don Anselmo says, the Americans are good people. Does this remark strike you as sarcastic or is it a sincere comment? Don Anselmo was a sincere man. He said, the Americans are good people. There is nothing in the character of Anselmo to suggest that he is capable of such a sarcasm. Sarcasm means you say something good but you mean bad. Oh, look at her sari, it's so good. The way I am saying, she will not take it as a compliment. She'll think, yeah, what is she saying? Why is she saying like that? So I am telling it sarcastically. Okay? He was sincere in his words when he said at the time of selling the property that he knew the goodness of the Americans and that's why he was selling the land to them. The problem with Anselmo was that he did not know the legal implications of selling the property. Now these old people who live in cities like this, they don't know too much of legal terms, correct? So that was his problem, not that he was sarcastic. Okay, now Don Anselmo sold his land but he didn't sell his trees. Okay, the children of Rio and Medio were Don Anselmo's, what were they? Sobrizos and Nietos. Sobrinos and Nietos. Who were they? Niece, nephews and grandchildren. Don Anselmo inherited the house from his mother. According to Don Anselmo, the real owners of the trees were whom? Were they the children of Rio and Medio, Don Anselmo himself, the Americans, the storyteller, or Don Anselmo's ancestors? Who were they? The children of Rio and Medio. Question 5. Don Anselmo did not sell the trees. Why do you think he did not? Why didn't he sell the trees? Because trees were like children to him, was it? They were grown for the children of the next generation. He thought they did not belong to him but to the children. He had grown them in memory of his ancestors, or he wanted his surroundings to be green always. It's point number C. Mark it with me in your textbook. Mark the C, so when you're revising, you not get confused, okay? So it's C here, he thought they did not belong to him, but to the children of Rio and Medio. Don Anselmo's appearance and manners were quite unusual. How would you support this statement based on the text? Now, Don Anselmo's appearance. What is appearance? What you wear, what like shoes or clothes or your hair or what you're carrying. It tells you about your appearance, isn't it? So, his appearance and manners can be termed unusual because he was very shabbily dressed, untidily dressed, but was majestic in his behavior. His coat was old, green and faded. Gloves were torn and the cane was the skeleton of an umbrella. Yet he bowed down to all in ceremonious manner and was followed by a boy ready to take his orders. Now, although he did not look very pleasant, he was wearing shabby clothes, he was carrying a stick that was torn completely, his gloves were torn, but still he was a man of dignity. So what you wear does not show your character, isn't it? What you are is your heart. how you behave in front of the people, how you treat other people. That's what your main characteristic is, not what you wear and what kind of bag you carry or what kind of purse you carry. Okay, children, always remember that. Whose argument do you agree with, Don and Selmo's or the storytellers? Whom do you agree with? In legal terms, it is the argument of the storyteller that we have to agree with. Legally, it is impossible to sell a property without giving up everything that is on the property. However, as the storyteller himself admits, as Anselmo had sold the property for half its price, it's clear that he cannot be judged purely on legal basis. That is why the buyers, along with the storyteller, instead of trying to bind Anselmo with the legal clauses, take the pain of buying all the trees one by one from the people after whom the trees were planted. So legally, actually it's wrong that all the trees belong to the owners, but they had got the land in a very low price. So they didn't want to argue with Don Anselmo. Okay. Don Anselmo was passionate about his land and the children of Rio and Medio. Which details in the text support this statement? And you have to write them. We can see that Don Anselmo was passionate about his land and the children of Rio and Medio because ever since he had taken possession of the house from his mother, he had planted a tree for every child born in the village. Being the oldest man in the village, everyone was his relative and he considered the children his niece and nephews. He felt that the trees didn't belong to him, but they belonged to the children, and hence he couldn't sell them. All these details show how passionate Anselmo was about the land and the children of Rio and Medio, and he made sure that every child of that village got a little amount for themselves by the trees. Right? Question 4. Don Anselmo's reaction to the offer of more money was not expected. Justify this statement. Don Anselmo's reaction to the offer of more money was totally unexpected. Instead of feeling elated that he would get double of what he was to get, he felt that the offer of extra money was an insult to him. His idea of honor was that no changes should be made to the initial amount agreed upon. The storyteller, being a nice man, tried to explain the situation to Anselmo, but Anselmo was very stubborn. He did not listen. He said, no, I will take this much amount which I had agreed on, and he went. So here we have to read the paragraph 5 and identify the tone or reaction of the old man while uttering the following words. Some examples are given. Okay. What are the words? Mild, harsh, blunt, authoritative, self-assertive, confident, comfortable, polite or aggressive. We have to fill in these. So the old man's friend is authoritative. I do not like, which he said, is self-assertive. He's protecting himself. I know these American people. It's polite. He knows they are good people. I do not care to be. That is blunt. I don't care. I will do this only. That is the price, confident, final, that's it, I am not going to listen to you. This is the price, I want that only. He is confident. Why do you think the Americans wanted to buy Don Anselmo's land? The Americans must have wanted to be away from the busy city life. They must have decided to live in the quietude of the village. They must have found the old house of Anselmo quaint, that is quiet, and attractive. They would have realized that with a little bit of repair work of the house, they would be able to convert the house in the orchard to an idyllic place of stay. They wanted to come from a busy, polluted, lot of traffic city life to a quaint, nice, happy, serene life. That's why they liked his land. Don Anselmo and the Americans were generous in their own ways. How were they generous? So Don Anselmo was generous how? In not taking the extra amount. The Americans were generous in getting the proper survey done and in offering the extra money without any haggling or without any comments. The Americans were generous also in buying the trees one by one from the children of Rio and Medio. They could have tried to use legal measures to protect their property instead of paying the more money. They did not forget the generosity of Anselmo. Usually after a deed is over, people don't even remember previous acts of kindness. But the Americans proved this notion wrong. What did they do? They could have just fought the legal battle, right? The land is mine, the trees are mine. But they did not do that. They were good people. What did they do? They actually bought each and every tree from the children. So this is what they say, they are generous. At last, the problem of ownership was resolved, but it took a long time. What might be the reason? Let's see the answer. Anselmo refused to accept the simple fact that along with the land, the fruit-bearing trees also go to the buyer. He refused to accept it. So he thinks that the children of the village have every right to roam around the orchard according to their free will. However, the Americans behave in gentlemanly manner in following the unusual procedure of buying the trees separately from each owner of the tree one by one till they could rest assured that the orchard along with the trees was theirs. Thus, the problem of ownership was finally resolved. It took a little time, but they were both very nice and generous people. They both were good people. Now, question number 9. Read the story and arrange the given events in the order which they occur in the text. Now, these are the events of the story. I am not going to read all the events to you. Read it thoroughly in your book. I am dictating the answers to you. Read them with me. So, the first answer is E. Don and Selmo lived up in Rio and Medio. Then is A. The storyteller offered Don and Selmo more money than what he had been agreed upon. Then H. Don and Selmo felt offended when he was offered more money. Then D. The storyteller was surprised at the strange argument of Don and Selmo. Then G. Don and Selmo signed the sale deed after the negotiation for $1,200. Then I. The buyers renovated the house. The occupants of the house came up with lots of complaints about the children of Rio and Medio. Then the children of Rio and Medio disturbed the peace of the Americans. The Americans bought the trees from the descendants of Don and Selmo. So this is the right answer. You may write E, A, H, D, G, I, J, B, C in the side as the correct sequence. Okay. So question number 10. Imagine that a group of 4 students endorses the old man's views. The other group supports the Americans. So one side is supporting Don and Selmo, one side is supporting the Americans. Write a paragraph on each group's argument. So this is the paragraph. Let's read what each group says. So the first group is, the old man is right in his argument. The Americans should respect the tradition and cultural values of a place. If the old man had planted each one of those trees, dedicating it to a child, then the children have every right to come and play there. The Americans should be accommodating in spirit. After all, they have got the property for half the price, and they shouldn't really complain about little children playing there. Moreover, the children were not even rude in their behavior. So the Americans should have respect for what has been followed in the village till then. They should not disturb the peace and tranquility of the place. Okay. Now the second group is whose? Americans. Let's see what they have to say. But such sentimental argument is not objective. It is not rational on the part of the old man to say that he wouldn't be bound by the legal system and would follow his own rule. This is not the correct rule. In the future, it's possible that there's another argument to the effect that the property sold does not include the house on it. Yeah, maybe they'll say that I sold the land, not the house. It is the duty of the old man, as an old-aged man, respected by all, to convince the children not to disturb the Americans. So these are two sides of the stories, and both seem right. Imagine that your neighbor is in a fix, as the Americans were. How would you solve the problem? Imagine if you were also in that kind of a situation, your neighbors also were like that. How will you solve the situation? As the old man hadn't accepted the extra money in the first instant, it's not likely that he would accept it even if it were to merely keep the children away. Neither would it be advisable to be harsh towards a gentleman like Anselmo. So I too, like the storyteller in the story, would try to find a way out by approaching the parents of the children and by explaining the situations to all of them that your children are disturbing us. Okay. So here we complete this nice very light chapter, Gentlemen of Rio and Medio. I hope you understood the chapter very well. I had read the summary to you before to make you understand the chapter, and then we did the chapter line by line, and then we have also covered all the question answers for you. Yes, I hope you come out with flying colors. This year has been tough for everyone, but yes, we are always there for you. So take care. I sign out. Kashish Chuk. I'll see you soon, but with the next chapter. Bye-bye.